welcome to the woods. It's brightened up a bit, and I should have done this video Sunday, but as is usually the case, there was 101 other things to do, and I never got round to it, so apologies. But hopefully it'll be worth the wait. So I was talking to my wife the other morning about bird flu, and the reason we were discussing that is because we've just had notification through from DEFRA about certain things we now need to put into place because the annual bird flu epidemic has risen its ugly head once again, and as we've got quite a large flock of poultry, we need to put in place certain procedures to ensure that the birds are okay. Now, this has been getting slowly worse over the last 4 years, and that's not what this whole video is going to be about. But I pointed out that actually there's very little that can be done about bird flu. It's something that affects wild birds, and they can't catch them and do anything about it. So much like the flu, for us, it's something we just have to live with. But the rules and regulations they're putting in place will, I'm confident, be used over the next few years to completely criminalise individuals keeping poultry or fowl. That will be the mainstay of big business only. They do not want the general public to have a means of feeding themselves. I'm fairly sure they'll come after seed stocks and crops next, and your ability to grow your own food. But at the moment it looks like that they're going to use the bird flu as a means of making sure individuals can't keep chickens or ducks or geese or anything of that nature. Just another step towards making you reliant on them. And my wife asked, why? What is all this about? And it gave me pause to think, which is my way. And I had to give her the honest answer, which is this is all about control and money. And the money aspect is something that most people overlook. We understand that the social credit system that they want to introduce is about control of populations, control of individuals, control of nations, complete control. But why? Why is this new system even being thought of? Because for as long as anyone can remember, there has been a control system, and a fairly comprehensive one that has worked for hundreds and hundreds of years. And that control system is money. If you relate that to your own personal life, think about the rows you've had with your wife or your husband, your girlfriend, the rows your parents had, and I'm sure that 90% of them can be traced back to money. Lack of money, how people feel when they don't have enough money, how a man feels if he can't provide money. These things in a personal relationship cause never-ending grief, arguments, strife, stress. It's either money or it's time. You might have all the money in the world, but if you're going to be working and not spending time with your family, and that again can cause arguments and animosity. But that's tied back to money. The reason you will have no time is because you're busy earning money. And young people today, working so hard to earn money, and yet can see very little future. They won't earn enough money to be able to buy a home. It takes two of them working just to afford rent. And they're both doing 8, 9, maybe 10 hours a day. And when they get home, they're too tired to take a minute to talk to each other as they pass in the hallway before going to bed. Money. It's a system that's been used to keep the people at a perpetual level of enslavement. There's very little difference between what we do and slavery. If you were a slave, you would have been housed and fed and generally looked after. The last time I said that, there was a lot in the comments of people saying slaves were hideously treated, and I'm sure some were, and I'm sure some weren't, but a slave owner would not wanted to degrade his investment. He would have looked after it. The slave was there to do work, and in order that it can do work, or he could do work, it would need to be fed and watered and looked after. So no, slavery was abolished, and instead they gave you money for your work, and now you can pay for your own accommodation, food, water, and look after yourself. The system's much the same. So why change that system? Why change that system of control? The truth is, it was an unsustainable system. When money was first introduced, and I covered this a few videos back, it was merely as a tool to facilitate and ease the trade of goods and services between people. And that's fine. But slowly, it became corrupted by individuals, by the bankers, by the goldsmiths. And then interest was introduced. And the way money was created changed. From promissory notes backed by hard currency in gold and silver, to a system where money was created from debt, which is what we have today. So a bank creates money out of your promise to repay the debt. Money out of thin air. And we allow this because it keeps the circle going. And we all like money, and we all earn money, and we want to spend our money. But the problem with the system, because it's unsustainable, because it needs ever increasing amounts of consumerism, leads to massive problems. Leads to things like importing millions of people into a country so that there are more people to borrow money. More money can then be created. You also have more people to buy things and consume things. An ever increasing amount on a finite planet. There is only so much you can chop off and dig out of this place until there's nothing left. And the money situation, the money system, because of the interest, is similar. So banks create money from debt, then add interest, but they don't create the money to pay the interest. That has to come out of circulation, the money that's already in circulation, but there's never actually enough. So therefore the interest becomes bigger than the actual original amount of money that was created, which is the situation we find ourselves in now, not just on a personal level, and the level of debt in this country is astronomical, with every household nearing debt of £100,000 average. That's an incredible amount of debt. But on a national level, where every Western nation is bankrupt, it owes so much money to the banks because of the interest that it will never be able to pay it back, thus giving the bankers control of the nation. Utter, complete control. Because they control the money, and the nation needs money. And if the bank shuts off the supply, everything stops. And over the last 3 years, something strange occurred, which is a new set of, we'll use the word elites because it seems to be in parlance at the moment, although I dislike calling these people elites. But a technocracy, a new breed of elite emerged with quite a public face and quite a public announcement of what they wanted to do for the future. Most people don't even realise, most people don't even know about it, most people haven't even heard of the WEF. Which sounds unbelievable to the people watching this video and people like myself who have listened to nothing but for the last 2 years. But it's true. If you walk into the street and ask a random person, what do you think of the World Economic Forum? They wouldn't understand what you're talking about. But what was strange was these new elites were out in the open. And the reason that was strange is because we've always been controlled by a group of people who were usually in the shadows. The owners of these banks, the owners of these multi-billion-pound corporations, the power behind the media. These people all working together to control. But now there was a new group. But this new group is the public face. That old elites the old control group haven't gone away. And if you think for 1 minute that they're playing second fiddle to Klaus Schwab, you're sadly mistaken. These people own nations. They own them. The national debt of the United Kingdom is trillions. And as I've said before, the interest on that debt rises at £5,000, maybe £6,000 a second. Now this is money owed to banks, and those banks are owned by individuals and families, and that's who we owe the money to. And much as the same in your own life, if you have a mortgage or owe someone money, it must be repaid, and if you can't repay it, they take what you've got, understandably. And the same for a nation. Could we repay the debt? No, we cannot. So the banks take what the nation has, which is its natural resources, including you and me. These people own everything. They're not about to crawl into the crevices in the woodwork, never to be seen again. They're still running the show. They're still in control. This whole Great Reset is all about the money and the control. The control of populations worldwide. And if the financial system as we know it is coming towards an end, which it is, a new one will be put in place. The central bank digital currencies we hear so much about will be controlled, as always, by the people best placed to control finance, the people who have always controlled the finance. So what I'm trying to say here is that we've been controlled in the past by elites using money and propaganda through the media. And a new set of elites want to control us in a new way, with a social credit system, carbon credits to limit what we can and cannot do, and a new financial system run by the old gang, but much harsher. They'll be able to limit where you spend your money, when you spend your money, how you spend your money, and even if you can spend your money. Complete and utter control. It's not a very rosy looking picture, and bit by bit these things are slotting into place. Governments are no more than central governing bodies for the people in power behind the scenes. We've seen that blatantly in British politics over the last month, that they will get what they want. that these people are interchangeable. Politicians are interchangeable. Political parties are interchangeable. They're no more than figureheads put in place to offer an illusion of democracy for the masses. I understand most of us see through that. Most people don't. Point it out where you can. And as much as it's really easy to dismiss the normies, to be infuriated, we're going to need every single one of them to wake up soon. And it's not an impossibility. You see, things are going to get tough, and more people become awakened when situations are tough. So don't stop talking. You'll find that actually people are much more receptive at the moment than they were 5 years ago, because a lot of people have been through a tough period. This winter, talk to those people who are finding it difficult, that can't afford the gas and the electric, finding it difficult to feed the kids, having to work overtime all the time. Tell them why. Tell them what's coming. And tell them who's doing it. So as much as the future doesn't look very bright at the moment, there's enough of us to make a noise about it. Slowly, things are creeping into the mainstream. There's more of a pushback against the COVID vaccinations. This is good. There's people now asking questions about the excess deaths right across the globe. These questions need to be asked. The Spanish government has just been told by the legal profession over there that all the fines they collected during the lockdowns will now need to be paid back to the people because it was illegal. There's little victories cropping up everywhere. The sentiment of the people in Europe seems to be shifting our direction. The election of more right-wing populist governments proves that. And it's not necessarily about the governments themselves or the parties or politicians, but the sentiment of the people that are voting. More and more people becoming aware that the system is corrupt, that it's being run by people who are unelected. And as times get tougher, it's going to be our job to point out why and what we can do. And what we can do, start saying no. Start saying no to all of it. And that becomes powerful with numbers. Anyway, you lot, that was my ramble for today. I hope you had a good weekend. And I'll speak to you all soon.